बात करनी है?
I don't know, buddy.
अभी उधर ही रहने किंजापा के साथ आप खड़े हो जाएं। हाँ इनवाइटेशन है। जब अगर वो आप लोग को कहीं प्लेस करते हैं तो फिर आप आ जाएं, वरना उधर ही
701 now. Police officer. See him inside? Police. Police. My mom. She was saying make sure you take good pictures. Get pictures of Justin Trudeau. He's gonna be right back. My mom's not controlling the drone. I have to take pictures with my phone. See? My phone, I can take pictures. The person who's controlling the drone is in there. See, they're gonna be coming any moment now. My mom's back there.
Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Just another quick announcement to let you know we will be beginning the program shortly in around 10 minutes. It's so humbling to see the amount of people that are here in support of the Muslim community. So big gratitude from all of the organizers and everyone at London Muslim Mosque. So inshallah, we will begin in about 10 minutes. And hopefully, with all of your good luck, it will not rain.
ما في برد يعني في برد اليوم
Your mom is right there, okay? Okay. Your mom's right there. Yeah, look, it's moving.
Hello? Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everybody. We're not starting still. This is another housekeeping announcement, but I just wanted to let you all know that for any members of the audience who are deaf, today we do have an ASL interpreter with us. So if there is anybody deaf, could you please make room for them to come up front so that they're able to see? Please and thank you. Thank you. We will be starting momentarily.
I don't know, you have to ask your mom when you go home. Mama! Mama! Yeah, I know. Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'm right up the front. I'll get some good pictures and videos. Yeah, I know. All right, love you. Yep. Okay, I need some water. And that's fine. Okay, hold on. There's some guy there. Dad, please. Please.
You can probably ask him. He has water as well.
Excuse me, sir. Can I have some water? Oh, thanks.
Can I get one too as well? Thank you.
We're almost starting.
Yeah, there you go. That's done.
Buddy, hey, look this way here. Mama, did you make a I'm taking a video, buddy.
Hello. So sorry for your inconvenience.
We appreciate your coming to our town, to Canada, as you are part of our town. We are very much to you. Thanks for coming.
All of Canada wants to be here tonight, and all of us are here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's not about it's about every Canadian to be safe.
We are all one flag, not together. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not sure about that.
لا لو هي كان حكى احنا عايزين احسن موقع يعني.
Yes, yes.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum again. We are going to begin in 2 minutes, so if everybody who has seats can take their seats.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't want to be kept. You know? Yeah, thank you.
cool. I'll just take videos, okay? Jump forward and there's jump forward and there's computer or beside side. Okay, I'm taking videos.
Hello? Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everybody. We would like to begin today's evening, or today's program, with an acknowledgement that the land on which we gather is the traditional land of the Arawandaran, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenape peoples. And this acknowledgement is made especially relevant given the fresh grief that our Indigenous brothers and sisters are feeling. We would like to thank you all for joining us this evening to commemorate the horrific incident that took place on Sunday. My name is Nusayba Alazam. I'm a native Londoner and second vice chair of the London Muslim Mosque. I grew up here, I went to school here, I got my degrees here, I now practice as a lawyer here. I've walked that trail that our London family walked on Sunday and never got to finish. And just like many of my friends and family have expressed to each other and on social media, it's not a matter that it could have been me. It was one of us. An LMM family, an LIS family, a Thames Valley family, a Western University family, just taking a stroll on a beautiful summer day like today. The family had initially asked for privacy as they were absorbing the shock and grief of what has occurred, but they have given us permission to share a few details about our London family today. So it's with sadness that I share that we as a community have lost Salman Afzal, Madiha Afzal, Yumna Salman, and Yumna's grandmother. They unfortunately join the number of souls we have already lost to Islamophobia in Canada, including those murdered in the Quebec mosque shooting, Ibrahima Berry, Mahmoud Tanu Berry, Khalid Belkacemi, Abu Bakr Thabti, Abdul Karim Hassan, and Azzuddin Sufyan. And from IMO just last year, Muhammad Aslam Zafis. These families have all been the target of horrific violence, and here in London, we mourn for the Salman family, and we grieve for the upended life of a 9-year-old orphan. Families across the city are having difficult conversations with their children and loved ones right now, trying to explain away this venom to their children. I know my nieces, my nephews, my extended family have shared their worries to their parents that, Mama, do I look too Muslim or am I okay? We are all victims of perverse Islamophobia, or pervasive and perverse Islamophobia in our society, and we all pay a price for that hatred. To that end, please, 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 please take notice of the mental health resources that are available to us. They're provided on this poster, and there's many of them at the Nasiha table, is my understanding. The London Muslim Mosque will also be blasting this on our social media. NCCM will be blasting it. Please, please, please take advantage of these resources. Make use of them today, tomorrow, and as we carry on. This is a traumatic event for our community, and it's important to ensure that we're looking after our mental well-being. And the mosque will be organizing community mental health check-ins in the days to come, so details will follow on that. I also want to highlight to you, you'll notice that there are people with purple and green ribbons, there are people wearing them, and there are people distributing among people in the audience today. Purple was Yumna's favorite color, and green symbolizes the fight against the scourge of Islamophobia, an ode to the green square that we all wore after the Quebec mosque shooting when we swore that this would never happen again. So we are inviting family and friends of the deceased, the brave first responders, including Jenny Karp, Sean and Miranda Campbell, and Fire Stations 6 and 14 Platoon A, among others unnamed, some of whom are here with us today, who tried to administer life-saving measures. We invite them to be the first to tie their ribbons, the ribbons that are being passed, on the mosque fence. And now we envisioned a much smaller crowd to be doing this, so it might not happen while we're speaking, and it might be, whether if not today, then in the days to follow. If you're able to come tie your ribbon to the mosque fence, and we invite everybody else, whether today or in the days to follow, to do so as a symbol of your commitment to do your part to end Islamophobia. Faith is at the heart of the reason we are here today. It was faith that was targeted, and it is in faith that we draw strength. So as such, we will of course open tonight's event with a Quran recitation, and that's the Holy Book. We invite Brother Mustafa Burot from London's very own scripture education program, the Quran Hifz program, also a program of the London Muslim Mosque, to recite from the Quran. Brother Mustafa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you all. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. O believers, seek comfort in patience and prayer. Allah is truly with those who are patient. Never say that those martyred in the cause of Allah are dead. In fact, they are alive, but you do not perceive it. We will certainly test you with a touch of fear and famine, and loss of property, life and crops, and give good news to those who patiently endure, who, when faced with a disaster, say, Surely to Allah we belong, and to Him we will all return. They are the ones who will receive Allah's blessings and mercy, and it is they who are rightly guided. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Thank you, Mustafa, for that beautiful recitation and reminder. I would like to next invite the London Muslim Mosque Chairperson, Bilal Rahal, to say a few words.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد. I would like to thank you all for being for us today and standing in solidarity with the Muslim community. As a member of the London Muslim community, I never thought that I would stand with you on an occasion like this. If I want to be honest, I hoped I would never have to. Leaders from every level of government, from every government levels are with us today here, and I look forward to hearing from them how they will end up this hate. But for now and for me, I'd like to speak to our community. I am from London. This city is my city, and this country is my country, as it is your city and your country. Never allow anyone to make you think otherwise because of the color of your skin, your faith, or where you're born. This is our city, and we're not going to let hate scare us or intimidate us or divide us. Yes, we do expect from our political leaders to take action. And yes, we do expect to see some policies in place. But we need to recognize that we belong here. This is our city, and we're not going anywhere. May God envelop the victims with His mercy, and may He guide us to the right path. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Bilal. Next, we have Sheikh Arij Anwar, who will say a few words that will be translated into Urdu in honor of the language spoken by the Salman family. Sheikh Arij.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا. बस हकीकत यह है कि तंगी के साथ आसानी भी है, बेशक तंगी के साथ आसानी भी है. So surely with every hardship there is ease. Surely with every hardship there is ease. Upon receiving the horrific news, the London Muslim community was violently shaken. We felt pain, sorrow, fear, and anger. We were in a dark place. But after the darkness of the night comes the light of daybreak. After hardship comes ease. We are a resilient community. We are a strong community. We belong here. This is our home. We will not cower out of fear. We will not cower out of fear. We will be resilient by being normal, by being ourselves. We will heal. As Imam, I want to acknowledge the outpouring of support from our London non-Muslim community, our friends, our neighbors. Your love will help us heal. I want to acknowledge the outpouring of compassionate emails and letters from the interfaith leaders who are present here today as well. Your kindness will help us heal. I want to acknowledge our leaders, our political leaders, for being here with us. Your presence means a lot, and you will help us heal as well. I want to call for an immediate action, a national action summit on Islamophobia, where leaders come together to take immediate action on dismantling both violent forms of Islamophobia and systemic Islamophobia. This will help us heal. Lastly, but certainly not least, I want to mention our dear Afzal family. Gone now, but forever in our hearts. They were loved when they were alive. Their memory will be cherished now that they're gone. We will honor their memory. We will take care of the surviving orphan, Fayez. He is our son. We will take care of him. I'll leave you with the words of Yumna, my student from last year. She said, I want to leave a legacy. She proceeded to paint a mural in the mosque that reads, shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those powerful words, Sheikh Arij. And if you haven't seen the mural, I do encourage you, hopefully the mosque is opens its public doors again post-COVID, to come and take a look. It's painted and it's quite beautiful. I now invite Imam Abdul Fattah Tawakkul, standing alongside other faith leaders, to share a message.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, I greet you all with greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The support that this community has shown is truly overwhelming. I don't have to say the reason that has brought us here together today, which was an egregious act, a violation to the furthest degree of our humanity that occurred for the Afdal family. May God have mercy on them all. But I have a message of hope, that although what brought us here together today is a tragedy, what I want to offer is a message of hope. A hope that this gathering today represents a pivotal moment in the history of our beautiful community, in the history of our beautiful city of London, in the history of our province of Ontario, and in the history of our beautiful country, Canada. That hope is that this gathering is a turning point where every single one of us We will resume momentarily.
We're going to resume momentarily. We're just making sure everybody is safe and secure, of course. And to that end, we do have water on both ends. If you guys can start passing that through the audience, that would be excellent. Stay hydrated, folks. It's a very, very hot and humid day, so please start passing through that water and make sure you're drinking. Okay, just make sure that everybody gets their water, folks, and we're going to resume with the program. So the water is being passed around. And so we'll resume with the powerful message of Sheikh Imam Tawakkul. If you can go ahead.
The message of hope that I want to deliver to everyone here. For those of you who are present and hear this message, and for those of you who are witnessing this from afar, across the nation, from coast to coast to coast, I want every single one of us, from the highest levels of government, from our elected officials, to the everyday commoner that exists in our country, in our province, in our city, in our community, to make a commitment, a solemn promise that you will do everything within your capacity to fight the scourge of racism, of discrimination, of xenophobia in any form that it exists. Every single one of us, we need to do our part, and we need to do this together, collectively. May God bless you all and give us the strength, the courage, the wisdom to be able to fulfill our solemn promise to our country and to our God. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum.
Yes, end Islamophobia now. Yes. Thank you very much for those words, Imam Tawakkul. You all saw the MC hover, is what I like to call it, when you're trying to coordinate timing. Can we have the doctor rolling? As we said, folks, our safety and security is of everyone present is of utmost concern to us. So if you do see a health concern happening near you, make way, make space. We should all be making space anyway because we are in the middle of a pandemic. So you should be trying to separate as much as you can. So if you can all push back, away from anybody who may be suffering. I know the instinct is to want to push forward to see what's happening. Push back, please, and make way for people, for medical personnel to come through. And once we get the clear to go ahead, then we will proceed with our program. But like we said, the point of this program is that the safety and security of all people is what we need to work towards, right?
بس صوت اطلع
You managed to take a picture? Oh yeah, I've got them. But I'm gonna do it the entire time.
Hello? Hello? Oh, okay, we are back. Okay, everybody, hello. We are going to proceed with our program. Like I said, please, if you have water near you, try to pass that along. If you see a medical emergency, make space. Try to make space in any event. And we will proceed with our program. Our next speaker is Dr. Ingrid Matson. She's the Windsor Community Chair in Islamic Studies at Huron University College. So I would like to call Dr. Matson up to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum. Take a breath. It's okay. Oh God, our Lord, you cause the night to pass into the day and the day into the night. You bring forth the living from the dead and the dead from the living, and you provide for whoever you will without limit. And blessed is he in whose hands is the dominion, and he has power over all things. He is the one who created death and life in order to test which of you is the best in deeds. And he is almighty, all-forgiving. It is late spring here in London, and the peonies are blooming, and the irises too, although they will flourish and fall quickly. Each creation of God has its own lifespan and its own way of living. And we, creations of God, each have our own lifespans and our own ways of being too. We trust in the wise plans of our Creator, and we know this life, our life in this world, is precious. Precious and always temporary. But it is a wonderful opportunity. It is our opportunity to cherish and grow all of the capacities that God gave us: physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and spiritual. Why did God create us with so much diversity and difference? It is because each one of us can only reflect a tiny part of the beauty of God, God's beauty and majesty. And that is why the more we come to know each other, the more we come to love each other, the closer we come to each other and to God. I see in all of you today a reflection of God's mercy. Love is greater than hate, and hate can be overcome. And for those of you who still have hate in your hearts, we want more for you. We want better for you. We want your heart to be unconstricted so that it can expand more and more like the hearts of the people here with love until you come to know the source of all love. Thank you for being here, lovely people.
Thank you for those beautiful words, Dr. Ingrid. I'd like to invite Yumna Sa'a, a LIS graduate and LMM board member, to share a hadith with us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. عن أم سلمة أنها قالت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما من مسلم تصيبه مصيبة فيقول ما أمره الله إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون اللهم أجرني في مصيبتي واخلف لي خيرا منها إلا أخلف الله له خيرا منها. Peace be upon you all. To Allah we belong and to Allah we will return. Salama reported that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, no Muslim is afflicted with a calamity, but that he should say what Allah has commanded him. Indeed, to Allah we belong, and to Allah we will return. O Allah, reward me in my affliction and replace it with something better than it. If He does so, Allah will replace it with something better. Inshallah, healing can come out of this through the prayer Allah has guided us to say. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for that beautiful reminder, Yumna. Once again, as always, folks, if you see something happening near you, take 2 steps back. Don't step forward, but take 2 steps back. Focus on passing out waters and take 2 steps away from anything that is happening. We've heard from our community leaders, and this event is chiefly by and for our community, for our collective grief and for our collective support. But we're now going to shift slightly to hear from our political leadership as well. Because at the end of the day, this event happened because of pervasive and structural Islamophobia, which is perpetuated in a systematic manner. I would note here tonight, look around. We have in attendance today the leader of every major political party, including François Blanchet, leader of the Bloc Québécois, who led a motion in the House of Commons today condemning Islamophobia. This gives us a glimmer of hope that Islamophobia can rise above partisan lines to be something all parties firmly work against. The London Muslim Mosque, as you've heard, has called for an immediate national action summit on Islamophobia, and we hope this call will be heard by the leaders in attendance here tonight. To speak more on that and other matters is London's own Nawaz Tahir, Chair of Hikmah, London's Muslim anti-Islamophobia advocacy organization.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you all for coming tonight. Over the course of the last 24 hours, I've done a number of media interviews, and I thought I had answered every conceivable question about what had happened. But one of the last questions was from a foreign news agency. And that reporter asked me, why are we talking about this in Canada? You're supposed to be the most tolerant country in the world. My grandfather came to this country with 1 bag, and that's it. And through the love of the community, he was set up with a job. People helped him sign a lease, and then he brought my mother and 7 uncles and aunts. And it was for the pursuit of that Canadian dream, that promise of a better life for him and his family, his children, and generations to come. And so all of you, I ask you, you're here because you care, And I love every single one of you for being here and showing that you care. But we have a job together, and I need all of you to be ambassadors. Ambassadors of love, because love will conquer hate. Love is the disinfectant of that small minority in our country that want to divide us and pit us against each other. And to those who want to hold the Constitution, to those who want to hide behind freedom of expression, I ask you a simple question. What is the point of freedom of expression if a Canadian family does not have the freedom to walk on a sidewalk in this country without getting murdered? So I say to all of our political leaders that are here today, we are in a war against hate, and that war requires nonpartisanship, it requires cooperation, it requires united leadership and action. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nawaz. With that in mind, I'd like to invite our Prime Minister of Canada and Federal Liberal Party leader, Justin Trudeau, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for inviting me to join you. To the loved ones and friends of the Afzal family, and tonight we are all friends of the Afzal family, I am so sorry for your loss. We hold you in our thoughts, just like we hold your precious 9-year-old boy in our hearts. This family touched so many around them. Salman was known for his warm heart. Madia was working on her PhD in engineering. She and her daughter had painted a mural at their mosque, and Yumna was an active member of her student community. Their grandmother cherished her family, and Fayez still has so much ahead of him. They were loved. I know they will be so deeply missed. To this community, which has made London stronger for generations, and to all Muslim Canadians, we are with you. There are no words that can ease the grief of having 3 generations murdered in their neighborhood. There are no words that can undo the pain and, yes, the anger of this community. There are no words that can fix the future of that little boy who has had his future taken away. But know this, you are not alone. All Canadians mourn with you and stand with you tonight and always. As Canadians, we make a pact with one another that we will look out for each other, take care of each other, respect each other. Well, for the Muslim Canadian community, that pact has been broken too many times. It was broken last fall in Etobicoke and in Quebec City, in far too many places across the country. Islamophobia is real. Racism is real. You should not have to face that hate in your communities, in your country. We can and we will act. We can and we will choose a better way. When someone hurts any of us, when someone targets any parent or child or grandparent, we must all stand together and say no. No to hatred and to Islamophobia. No to terror and to racism. Il n'y a pas de place pour la haine dans nos communautés. Et il n'y a pas de place pour l'islamophobie. This was an act of evil. But the light of the people here today, the light of the lives of the Afzal family, that will always outweigh the dark. Together, we will take action. Together, we will find our way forward. Thank you. May peace and blessings be upon you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I'd like to invite the Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada and Leader of the Opposition, Aaron O'Toole, to speak.
Assalamu alaikum. Grief is what comes naturally at a moment like this. We grieve for the lives that were lost. We grieve for a family that will never return from a walk on a tranquil Sunday night. We grieve for a young boy in hospital whose life will never be the same. Cette communauté et notre pays sont en deuil. Nous pleurons ensemble après cette terrible attaque. The mosque we are at today is the second oldest mosque in Canada. Hear, hear. It is a reminder that the Muslim community in London helped build this great city. As Mr. Rahal said, you belong here because you made this city great. And today, this entire community and this entire country stands with you as we come to grips with this attack and the profound loss. Thousands today, many faith communities volunteering water efforts to show solidarity with you. But what comes after grief is commitment. We have to commit ourselves to working across party lines, with premiers, with mayors, with faith leaders, to end the kind of violence and hatred that took these lives. This was an attack on a family walking together in their community. The Afzal family was entitled to the same security, the same freedom from fear, and the same freedom to worship as every Canadian. And we have to commit ourselves to making sure it is a reality for all Canadians. The rise in Islamophobia and other forms of hate in this last year are the pandemic of darkness amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We know the Muslim community is stronger than this or any act of terrorism committed against you. We know the City of London is stronger than this or any act of terrorism. And I hope some in the Muslim community today find some solace in this passage from the Quran that I read in the House of Commons today. Good and evil are never equal. Repel evil with good and be patient. To a community that is in mourning and is fearful,
please know that we will repel evil with goodness and stand courageously alongside you against intolerance. Let's transform our pain into resolve, our tears into perspiration in our joint effort to build a tolerant and inclusive Canada for this family and a 9-year-old who is looking to the nation to act. And inshallah, I hope we will rise to show him we will act.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the Federal New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh to say a few words.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. We've come today together in a really incredible, powerful showing of love and solidarity. Just to look around you and see how many people have come together. This is incredible. This is powerful. This is beautiful. Thank you. But we've come together for a heinous and horrible act of terror. An act of terror that stripped from us a beautiful family. But it also stripped something else. When the sister was speaking earlier, she mentioned that her nieces were asking, do I look too Muslim? We have children that are worried that they might look too Muslim if they wear a hijab. This act of terror was committed with the purpose of driving fear into the hearts of the Muslim community. So I want to say to my sisters that wear a hijab, to my brothers that wrap their head, we will not cower in fear. We will wear our turbans, our hijabs with pride, because we are proud of who we are. We will not let terror win. I also want to remind us all that this heinous act was an act of hate, and hate is like a fire. Once hate takes hold, it spreads, consuming everyone. So it is our collective responsibility to stand against that hate, to give it no air to breathe, no space to take hold. That is our collective responsibility, and one I ask all of you to take together. And what we need to do now is real action. After this act, how many more lives have to be taken before we act? How many more Muslim brothers and sisters have to lose their lives before real change is put in place? We need real action. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I put 3 things before you. 1, never again should any political leader ever use Islamophobia for political gain. That can never happen again. Never, ever. There is no space for that. Let us all agree. Secondly, the real and urgent threat to Canadians' lives, the real and urgent threat is coming from hate. It's coming from extremist right-wing ideology. It's coming from white supremacy. So let's put resources towards the real and urgent threat against Canadians. And finally, I know my time is up. I'll just wrap up with this last point. We need to tackle online hate. In each case of hate against Muslims, in each case where we saw violence against Muslims, in the Quebec shooting, in the killing of a brother in Toronto, in the violence against Muslim women in Edmonton, we know that this is happening from radicalization happening online. So we have to be serious about fighting hate online so that hate has no space to radicalize future violent actions.
Thank you. I commit to you that I will be an ally in fighting for a future where families can walk the streets without fear. Muslim brothers and sisters can walk the streets without looking over their corners. No one should be afraid of who they are. Together we will stand and build a Canada where no one is afraid, where we all are celebrated for who we are. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Jagmeet. I'd like to invite Leader of the Green Party of Canada, Anna Paul, to speak.
Thank you very much for inviting me into your community. Thank you very much for allowing me to be with you during this time of profound grief. Once again, the community has been asked to bear the unbearable. Once again, all over the city, all over the country, parents are having to sit down with their children to explain to them why these things have happened. Once again, this community has been asked to be resilient when it should not have to be. When I was thinking about this family, when I was reading about the family that had been lost to us, something felt incredibly familiar about it. And what occurred to me is that this could have been my family. The parents are almost the same age as I am and my husband. The children are the same age as mine. This could have been my family. And I know that many people in Canada are thinking that today. And I'm here to say that it is your family. It is your family. When these things happen, they happen to all of us, and we must remember that. The message is clear. The hate is growing. The hate is growing, and we have got to stop it, and we all have to be in that together. Because even as this pandemic has brought out the best in our communities, it has also brought out the worst in some people. So what do we do? What do we do? I cannot see into the heart of the person who committed this act, but I know that often when these acts are committed, they are intended to strike fear, to cause pain, to inflict division amongst communities. What I say to that is, where there is fear, we will be defiant. We will speak out. Though for every single child who is questioning themselves and their place and their safety, we will speak out on their behalf, because the silence emboldens hate. Where there is pain, we will replace it with action. We will replace it with action to ensure that everyone can have safety in their identity, that they can walk out of the house as who they are with no fear and without any concern. And where there is division, we will ensure that there is unity. We will ensure that those who seek to divide us will not succeed. Because at the end of the day, what we can do to remember those who have been lost is to say that hate will not win. And as we speak the names of the Afzal family, may their memories be a blessing, we will say that hate will not win. And as the leader of our party, I stand in solidarity, and I also promise you this, that my voice will be your voice. I am not there to impose my agenda. I am there to reflect what you tell me you need at this moment. That is my commitment to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anami. I'd now like to invite CEO of the National Council of Canadian Muslims, Mustafa Farooq, who has been a great support and resource to the community at this time, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm here because we lost a family member to terror. That's what this is. This is terror. and we keep losing our family. This cannot keep happening. The reality today is that I am angry. I am angry because I had to stand beside Ayman Darbali last year, rendered paraplegic because of the Quebec City Mosque massacre. I am angry that last year I had to walk down to the IMO in Etobicoke and see the body of Mohammed Aslam Zavis. And I will remain angry because how can we not be angry as long as the Canadian Muslim is the victim of unspeakable horrors of Islamophobic attacks that keep happening? We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, tired and ashamed, cannot be allowed to become police officers in Quebec under Bill 21. We cannot be satisfied as long as our national security agencies still seem more obsessed with us than those that are killing us. We will never be satisfied as long as white supremacist groups are allowed to walk as they have walked in London before with impunity and are not being dismantled. But my anger and the anger of thousands of Canadian Muslims will turn into positive action, an action of love, of dignity, of the need, of the way you came tonight to protect us, to protect our neighbors. Today, to the leaders here, to the Prime Minister, to the Premier, to ministers and opposition leaders, we need to see a national summit on Islamophobia on an emergency basis. Because our martyrs did not just fall last year, they didn't fall last week, they didn't fall last Sunday, they continue to fall, and we will continue to stand.
Thank you, Mustafa. I'd like to call upon Sahar Zimmo to do a recitation of hadith. And again, I'd like to remind everybody, please spread water around, pass it around, and try to take space. I know it's a hot and humid day. So Sahar, if you could, with hadith.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of the Almighty be upon each and every one of you. According to an authenticated hadith, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Whoever amongst you sees evil, let him change it with his hand," meaning, let him take action. If he cannot, then with his tongue, meaning, let him speak out. And if he cannot, then with his heart, meaning at least by hating it and believing that it is wrong. And that is the weakest of faith. So in light of this tragedy, let us take action against evil with whatever means we have accessible to us, either by direct action, words, or belief. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower the deceased with mercy and grant the family patience and strength. Jazakum Allah khair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sahar. I'd like to invite Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Muslim Association of Canada, Dr. Nabil Sultan, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. Today, we stand as a community with a broken heart. But we stand as a community also with a determination and resolve. While we fully appreciate the strong political support across all political parties today, the message from the community is clear. Words are no longer enough. We hold our elected officials responsible for creating a society where we don't have to explain to our children why they're being told to go back home and why their hijabs are being ripped from their heads. We demand a day when we can take our families to the park without looking over our shoulders just in case. The Muslim community and MAC is demanding from our political leadership that we take steps towards addressing the root causes of Islamophobia, including criminalizing Islamophobia. We ask and demand from our governments that they take steps towards eradicating systemic Islamophobia. There is no reason why a Muslim, any man or woman in fact, should be suspected of being an extremist because of their faith. There is no reason why a Muslim charity or a Muslim organization becomes suspected of terrorism because of the religion it upholds. Enough is enough. And to my beautiful community, my dear brothers and sisters of all walks of faith, I say this. Please do not let hate intimidate you. Never be ashamed of who you are. Wear your hijab proud, raise your head high, for you are a believer in the one God. And Allah will allow us to heal, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wow. You don't really realize the height of people until you have to talk in a microphone afterwards. Thank you. I'd like to now invite the Premier of Ontario and leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario, Doug Ford, to say a few words.
Well, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the people of Ontario, of a province left in mourning, I'd like to extend my deepest sympathies to the friends and family of the Afzal and Solomon families. What happened here in London is a tragedy beyond words. 3 generations of one family taken in a senseless act of hatred and violence. But right now, this evening, there's a 9-year-old boy in a hospital who's lost his parents, his grandmother, and his 15-year-old sister. We are told Fayaz will survive the injuries he sustained, and we can only thank God for that. But Fayaz has suffered a tragedy that we can't even begin to consider. Our hearts break for him, his family, and everyone in the City of London. In the coming days, weeks, and years, little Fayaz, only 9 years old, will show the sort of bravery none of us can really comprehend. Let us all be firm in our resolve to do whatever we can to support Fayaz, to be a source of strength and love for him, as I know everyone in London, Ontario, and across the country will. We're so grateful to those who rushed to the scene, the first responders, and the community members who witnessed this awful act of hatred and didn't hesitate to help their fellow citizens. Thank you for your bravery and for your selflessness. We're all shaken by this act. We were left trying to understand how this could happen in a beautiful country and a beautiful province like Ontario. We know only that this awful crime was motivated purely by hatred and racism. As Mayor Holder has said, this was mass murder. It was a hate crime. It was an act of terrorism against a family targeted for their beliefs and for their religion. This type of racism and terrorism cannot and will not be tolerated. We must stand united against it. It must be condemned in the strongest terms of those who commit this type of evil must and will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. We need to work every day to ensure that Ontario is a safe and inclusive home for everyone who lives here. Because through this incident, we have come to face with the fact that too many Canadians still live under the threat of racism and discrimination. And it focuses us to ask ourselves, what can we do about this? What can we do to make our country, our society, a more inclusive and just place? What can each of us do to atone for the tragedies of the past? These are the questions that I and every other person in Ontario are asking right now. And we must come together as a society in response. Today, we stand shoulder to shoulder with our Muslim community in their time of mourning. We stand with them in the face of the unbelievable pain and suffering they're enduring right now. And I want every single Muslim person, every Muslim family, to know that we're with them. We'll always have your backs. We grieve with you. We pray for them. This tragedy, this brutal act of terrorism will never, ever be forgotten. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much. Now, we do have a number of other speakers that we want to hear from this evening, but we would first like to lead into a moment of silence. We're not going to do it now, but in a few minutes, because we are nearing that time, this time on Sunday, when the Afzal Salman family was just taking a stroll. And so when we do hit that moment, we would like to take a pause. So before we hit that, I just want to address the heightened anxiety that has surfaced as a result of this tragedy. I know many of you have talked to me about feeling scared to pick up your children from school while you wear hijab, scared of simply taking a walk right now, scared to be visibly Muslim, visibly different. I know many of us are afraid. But I don't want to talk about fear. I want to talk about decisions. A decision to remain silent, to ignore poisonous rhetoric and injustice. A decision to fearmonger, to dog whistle, to pass discriminatory legislation, to uphold that discrimination, to dehumanize. A decision to hate. A decision to murder a family because of their faith. I want to talk about decisions. A decision to show solidarity, a decision to learn about each other and to teach each other, a decision to drop off flowers, to tie ribbons, to build bridges, to show love. Our lives are an accumulation of the decisions that we make. And our faith, which can make us feel like a target at times, is our greatest strength. It teaches us that we are all family, brothers and sisters in humanity. We shape that family, our community, through our decisions. So today and onwards, Let's decide what we want our London family to be. And on that note, and in honor of the lives that were taken, and the lives that have been uprooted as well as a result of this hatred, we're going to take a moment of silence. I'd like to first invite all the friends and family of the victims, any first responders here tonight who would like to join us on the stage. I will get my mask, don't worry. All dignitaries, representatives of the many groups who have reached out to us, and we do feel that love, so thank you. So all representatives of the many groups, the friends, the family, please come join us on stage in a socially distanced manner. And I'd also like to call up Yasmin Khan, a close family friend of the deceased, to lead us into this moment of silence where we can reflect and we can pray, we could do whatever you would like to do in your moment of silence. So Yasmin, we'll just give a few minutes for people to come up on stage. And this is your visual representation of the lives that have been impacted, in case you needed that beyond the thousands of people that have come tonight.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum. Before we take this moment of silence, I have a few words I would like to share. My sister would not have wanted us to live in fear with wearing our hijabs. She would have wanted us to be proud of our identities. She would have wanted us to unite together, to stand for what is right. She would have wanted us to be kind to one another. That's all I ask. Take pride in your hijab and your religion. Be humble and be kind. We may now stand to begin our moment of silence.
Thank you. You can do it whenever you like, yeah. The close friends and family are now beginning to tie their ribbons. And as we said, after this event, in the days to come, if you would like to go and tie your ribbon as your commitment to do your part to end Islamophobia, to end hatred, then we encourage you to do so. It's always very difficult to carry on after a moment of silence like that. What's one moment when lives are taken, moments forever, right? But in any event, we will carry on. And I'd like to invite the leader of the Ontario New Democrat Party and leader of the official opposition, Andrea Horwath, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. We're all here tonight in a time of unspeakable sadness and terrible loss to pour out our love and support for the Afzal family and the Muslim community who are reeling and traumatized by this heinous act of Islamophobic terror. Our hearts are aching for a young child who faces unimaginable loss. Millions of Ontarians are united in grief and solidarity with Muslims here in London and across our province. And it's amazing to see the community of London here as well in solidarity with the Muslim community. These hate-fueled acts of terrorism must stop. No one should fear walking with their loved ones on a street on a spring evening, or fear worshiping or volunteering at their masjid, or worry about their children being bullied at school. But we know it is happening each and every day in this province, and it has been for far too long. We must admit this. That is the first step. We must, as Ontarians, admit this. It is a very real, very familiar fear facing Muslims because of Islamophobic, white supremacist violence and hate. And it is long past time for governments at all levels to step up and take real action. And I support wholeheartedly the call by the NCCM for a national summit to address Islamophobia. That also is long past due. All governments need to act to address the rising tide of Islamophobia and hate. It has to stop. Too often from us politicians, we hear words. Now is the time for action. For action. We must eradicate at a systemic level the violent, organized groups spreading this hate, spreading Islamophobia right here in our province. We must, and we can. We absolutely can do that together. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing for action here in Ontario, as are my colleagues, and inshallah it will come. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Let's hope this is the last gathering in Ontario of this nature.
Thank you very much for that. I'd like to invite the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, Stephen Del Duca, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. It is so rare, I will tell all of you, that I'm at a loss for words. But tonight, as I look out and I see the thousands and thousands of residents from London and far beyond, and we hear the eloquent remarks provided by community leaders and faith leaders and political leaders, remarks that are truly a call to action for the 15 million people who call this province home, and the millions of others from coast to coast, I cannot help but think over and over and over again of a 9-year-old boy who we hear, thank God, is going to recover from his injuries, who's going to wake up and have to go forward in his life, knowing that that most important anchor that we all rely upon, our families, is no longer available to him. Back home tonight, where I live with my wife and our 2 daughters, our younger daughter, Grace, is his age. And I just cannot understand, and I cannot accept, that Fayez will have to go through the rest of his life bearing the deep emotional trauma and scars because of this horrible, horrible act of terror that should never happen in Ontario and should never, ever again happen in Canada. When I think of the resilience and the strength and the resolve that we hear in the pain and the anguish that is being shared by all of the speakers and all of you, Muslim Canadians, Muslim Ontarians from every corner of this province, it is remarkable that you are here in such strength. Not surprising, but remarkable nonetheless. I love our province and I love our country, but my goodness, we still have so much work to do to close the gap between what we dream of and what you have to suffer through. So you have my commitment. You have my commitment that tonight, the words, though they are eloquent and they are poignant and they are necessary, the words will not simply be enough this time. This time we will find the ability within ourselves, with your support, to make sure that the words become action. That we never again have to gather like this because of terror, because of Islamophobia, because of hateful bigotry and discrimination. And rest assured, drawing on your resolve and drawing on your resilience, we will find a way to make sure that the Ontario and the Canada that we dream of is the Canada and the Ontario that Muslims get to live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. I'd now like to call upon Mike Schreiner, leader of the Green Party of Ontario, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. I arrived here today saddened and brokenhearted and angry. Brokenhearted because a family was murdered and lives were taken away, and the Muslim community, my friends, feel sadness, grief, fear. I came here angry because a hateful, heinous, violent act of terrorism is ripping a community and a country apart. But I look at this crowd, I look at the love and the solidarity of people coming together and saying, we will stand up against hate. We will stand up against Islamophobia. And that gives me hope that there can be healing. And so I want to say something special. We all have a responsibility to stand up against hate and Islamophobia. But I want to say something special to people who look like me, because we have a special responsibility to stand up against the rising levels of white supremacy we see in our province and in our country. And that's a responsibility that we all have, but some of us have even more of a responsibility. So let's leave here. Let's leave here with a sense of hope and healing and solidarity and love, so that love will overcome hate. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite our Mayor, Ed Holder, and Ward 7 City Councilor Josh Morgan to say a few words. And I would also like to thank them very much for the city's support that helped make all of this happen, including literally closing Oxford Street off for us. Thank you.
I'd actually like to call all our councillors who are in the front area here to join us. I think that is an important message, because you've had a long night. And when I say Assalamu alaikum from my heart, it's ironic, because that says peace be upon you. And I think of that, and it's ironic, the peace that we have to deal with as we go forward. A little different from other speakers, I would like to call first, if I might, I'm going to have two of our councillors who have a very special relationship with the community and with this tragedy. First, if I might please call on Councillor from Ward 3, Mohammed Salih.
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Premier, Mr. Mayor, not only am I asking you tonight as a councillor for this beautiful city, but I'm also asking you as a member of the Muslim community to do everything within your power to make sure this never, ever happens again. This was a terrorist act. We can never shy away from calling it what it is: terrorism. White supremacists and racists have been living in London rent-free for too long, and it's time to evict them all. We shouldn't have the young Muhammads and Aishas afraid of saying their names. To the young Muhammads and Aishas in the city of London, London commits to you to doing everything we can to ensure that you feel welcome and safe. And wallahi, I will do everything within my power to ensure the city delivers. Muhammad, Aisha, Ahmed, Fatima, Khadija, we see you, brothers and sisters, and we will do everything we can to fight for you. Wallahi.
Shukran, Mohammed. I'd like to ask our Deputy Mayor, who is the councillor for Ward 7, where this tragedy occurred. Deputy Mayor Morgan, please.
Thank you. Last night, the mayor and I attended the site of this act of terrorism and attack on our city. We spoke with grieving community members as they paid tribute to our lost friends and loved ones, and the lost sense of security for our Muslim brothers and sisters. Many in this community feel less safe in London today than they did yesterday and 2 days ago. Less safe in your city, less safe in your London home. That's not right. It's not acceptable. Last night I spoke to a woman from Syria who stood there with her newborn son. She used to walk regularly in Springbank Park. Now she says she's afraid to do that. I didn't know if I had any meaningful words that could comfort her, but I'll tell you what I said. Over the last day, thousands of Londoners have written messages to City Council, the Mayor and I, and other community leaders expressing their support. Thousands more stand here tonight. These messages come from every part of London, every faith, every gender, every race, every age, every socioeconomic situation, every sexual orientation. Where else but in Canada does so much diversity come together in support of members of our community who are hurting so much? We stand with you, we feel and hear your pain, we grieve with you. We stand ready to take the necessary action to restore your sense of security and your faith in our collective community. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I have the opportunity to say my deepest thanks to the Prime Minister, to the leaders of the federal parties, to members of federal parliament, to our Premier, to leaders of our opposition parties at Queen's Park, and to our members of provincial parliament. You being here sincerely matters to us, matters to all of us as Londoners. And I want to say on behalf of us, our deepest and heartfelt thanks to all of you for making London and making today important for Ontario and for Canada. I will be clear. This was a terrorist attack. This was an act of mass murder and a grotesque expression of hatred rooted in Islamophobia. The magnitude of what has happened to this precious family and to our Muslim community can make us question who we are as a city and even who we are as Londoners. We now live in a time and in a place where thousands of Muslims, our family members, our neighbors, friends and co-workers, perhaps the next time they go out for a walk and through no fault of their own may be looking over their shoulders. But I'd like to ask all of you, my Muslim brothers and sisters, to look over your shoulders on this night, to look at all the support, the compassion, and the empathy that is shown tonight. Look over your shoulders and see that you are surrounded by love. Love from your fellow Londoners and love from fellow human beings. This love is unwavering and unconditional, and it is my promise it will always be with you. Now, when I look out at the thousands that are here tonight, we confront the question of what kind of community, what kind of city, and what kind of country will that recovery take place, both physically and spiritually. I think of the obligation we have to each other, and perhaps the sacred obligation we have to our 9-year-old brother, Fayez Afzal. As the lone survivor of this attack and remains in hospital, you've heard he is expected to recover. But you know, we have to live in a place where his clothing and his religion does not mark him for death. And it must not be one where hatred, which claimed the lives of his family, is ever allowed to fester. Instead, it must be one that is reflective at all times of the love and solidarity on display that we see tonight. It's how we honor young Fayez, and through him, how we honor his sister, his mother, his father and grandmother. It's how we ultimately reclaim our collective humanity and restore dignity for all of us as Londoners. May I say to all of you in this crowd, you matter, you make a difference, you show humanity, you show love. God bless you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed, and all the city councilors. 3 quick announcements. We are nearing the end of the program, and I know that it's getting dark, and we're anxious to try to get things out so that people can get home safely before it becomes too dark. First issue, Salat al-Maghrib has entered. For those of you who don't know, that's a prayer. And Adan, we will be making it at the end of the program because we are almost at the end. If you would like to pray now in any event, please make your ways to the side and you can go ahead and pray at your own leisure. Second announcement, I'm being told that on order of the Premier's office, all provincial government buildings will be flying their flags half-mast until the funeral. And the third announcement I have forgotten, to be honest. So we'll just move on. I'd like to ask London Police Chief Steve Williams to come up and say a few words. Apparently my hovering isn't really working tonight, but we're really gonna need, I'm gonna hover on you, Steve Williams, so if that's okay. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm honored to be here. So many have been impacted in an untold number of ways by this tragedy. A 9-year-old orphaned, family members, friends, loved ones, and the entire community. On behalf of every member of the London Police Service, I offer my deepest sympathy and condolences to all those who are grieving. I want to speak directly right now to those who are feeling unsafe or who are living in fear as a result of this incident. Know that there will be no tolerance in this community for individuals who are motivated by hate and who target others with violence or acts of terror. We will do our part to bring those individuals to justice. Know that I and every single member of the London Police Service stand with you. We are committed to supporting you and fighting with you against hate, intolerance, and any person who uses violence to target individuals based on their faith, skin color, ethnicity, or any reason whatsoever. All of us have a role to play. We will move through this together and we'll be united. As your police chief, I'm committed to supporting you through this tragedy, not only today, but in the days to come, the days that follow, in leading a police service comprised of women and men who are compassionate, empathetic, responsive, committed to a safe city, and who are aligned with our shared values of equity and respect for human dignity, despite all of our differences. That's my commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask Thames Valley District School Board Director of Education, Mark Fisher, to give a 30-minute, very, very brief speech, and I'm not even going to not hover for the whole time. No, sorry, 30 seconds as everybody is now screaming at me, 30 seconds. The crowd's going to hover.
Sure. I am honored and moved to be here tonight with so many community members who have come together in remembrance of the tragic loss we all suffered Sunday night. 15-year-old Yumna was a student at Oak Ridge Secondary School, which is just a short walk from this mosque. Her teachers said Yumna loved to learn, enjoyed the company of her friends and classmates, and wanted to make her family proud of her efforts. Her teachers described her as a smart and dedicated grade 9 honor roll student who was always ready to support her friends and the community. She was creative. She liked to paint. She was confident and had a bright and sparkling personality. She arrived to class with a beaming smile each and every day. Yumna dreamed about travel and someday becoming a business owner as a way of giving back to her community. She was caring, compassionate, and devoted to giving her best efforts each and every day. Together, we stand with our London family and vow to purposely make real change in our communities. Thank you very much.
I've never been so rude in my life. Okay, I now remember my last announcement. So I've been asked to announce that this Friday there will be a London multi-faith march to end hatred. It's going to be departing from the place of the incident, and we're going to walk here, which is a nice, very brief hour and 20-minute walk. So for those of you who would like to join, that's at 7 o'clock on Friday. And finally, in order to conclude tonight's evening, I want to say thank you so much to all of you who've been standing there all evening. Yeah. I'm going to ask concluding remarks now. I will say before our concluders come up to conclude, for cleanup, please make sure that we do our part for the environment. Bring whatever you came here with. If you took some plastic in the form of water, which I hope you did, that you take that with you too, and everybody does their part around them. And so I'd now like to ask Dr. Wa'il Haddara and Dr. Munir Al-Qasim to end our evening with their concluding remarks. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Brother Bilal, Rahal asked me to share final words. Well, I don't have to speak. Each and every one who's present here is a final word. You all said everything that needs to be said, except one angle I would like to share with our officials. Now, there's a reason why they say the world is a small village. Every country has a foreign policy. I just want to say, whatever is happening in Jerusalem and Gaza is related to whatever happened in London, Ontario. Period. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I don't have remarks. I have been asked to do that which we do in times of grief and in crisis, and that is turn to God. And so I've been asked to share a few prayers. The prayers I will share will be from the Quran and from the prayers of the Prophet, peace be upon him, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he experienced times of difficulty and times of grief. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. As I read some of the prayers, please feel free to observe in silence, or if you are comfortable, please say Ameen or Amen at the end. I will read some of the prayers in their original Arabic, and I will read some with the English translation. In the name of God, the most gracious, the dispenser of grace, all praise is due to God alone, the sustainer of all the worlds, the most gracious, the dispenser of grace. Lord of the day of judgment, you alone do we worship, and you alone do we turn for aid. Guide us the straight way, the way of those on whom you've bestowed your blessings, not those who have been condemned by you, nor of those who go astray. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من أن نضل أو نضل أو نزل أو نزل أو أن نظلم أو نظلم أو أن نجهل أو يجهل علينا. O our Lord, we seek refuge with you from misguiding others or being misguided, from falling into error or leading others into error, from oppressing others or from being oppressed ourselves, and from harming others
or being harmed ourselves. اللهم احفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن أيماننا وعن شمائلنا ومن فوقنا ونعوذ بعظمتك أن نغتال من تحتنا. O our Lord, protect us from what lays before us and behind us, that which is on our right and on our left. We seek refuge in your power, lest we be harmed unintentionally or suddenly. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. O our Lord, grant us to see the truth as it is, to stand for it and to live for it. And grant us to see falsehood as it is, and to stand against it and to avoid it. Our Lord, you know that we have lost people tonight, that we have loved and who have loved us. Admit them into your unbounded mercy. Forgive them, and grant our dear brother Fayaz strength and courage. Our Lord, lift this hate from the hearts of men, and grant us that we may live to know each other and compete in what is good and what is righteous. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وصل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين وصل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Praise be to God in the beginning and in the end and always. Assalamu alaikum.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
And with that, thank you very much for attending today. Please remember our discussions on mental health resources that are available. Please have a safe evening and take whatever you brought with you, including the water bottles that you picked up along the way. Thank you.
So those 4 step claps look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's really important to keep those arms strong and use your muscles. So we're not doing this, we're not in Swan Lake this week, right? We are holding really, really steady and strong, as if someone could come and put their weight down on your arm and it won't go down. So utilize your muscles as you're doing this. It's a great arm workout. Let's put those 2 steps together, okay? 5, 6, 7, and 1, and 2, and 3, and then T. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Awesome. From here, we do a little punch and down. So this is kind of a funky step, right, Olivia? We can get into the ground a little bit on this step. What I'm doing is stepping to the side and then hands behind. Side and behind, side and behind, side and behind. You notice how I'm locking my elbows, so I'm really stretching them out, locking them here, locking them down, locking them here, locking them down. Let's put all of that together. Ready? From the top, here we go. 5, 6, 7, and step, clap, step, clap, step, clap, step, clap, and up, clap, 2, and 3, and 4, and punch it, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. You got it. Nice job, everybody. Yes. The last arms for the intro here are my favorite cheerleading arms, side to side punches. So we're going step, 2, 3, step, 2, 3, step, 2, 3, step, 2, 3. So we put all of that together, and that's our whole intro. Let's try it from the top. Are you ready? All right. 5, 6, 7, and step, and 2, and 3, and 4, and T, and 2, and 3, and 4. Punch it! 1, and 2, and 3, and side to side punches. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Yes, Olivia's using her neck there too. So we can use our head to finish off our steps. So feel free to use that head. If you want to look up when you clap up, that's a great idea to do too. So there's the beginning of our routine. After this, we're going to do the toe touch that we just worked on before the break. So we finished here, and 8. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, down 5, 6, 7, 8. Super easy. Let's take it from the top one more time. So we're marking that toe touch right now. I'm trying to make sure I'm in the camera range here and we're not too far apart. Let's do it from the beginning. Ready? 5, 6, 7, and 1, and 2, and smile. Cheerleaders are smiley people. 1, and 2, and 3. Good job. Punch it. 1, and 2, and 3. Get funky there. And side, and 2, and 3, and 4. And toe touch. 2, 3, jump. 5, 6, 7, 8. Very nice. Okay, the next step is a front roll. We're on grass here. We're going to mark it through for you. If you want to and you're not super comfortable doing front rolls, then what I would recommend